All right, folks, best team in America finally played like it against the Maize and Blue. Ohio State 27, Michigan 9, a dominant performance by the Buckeyes once they got it rolling in Ann Arbor. Welcome into the Voice of College Football for a quick instant analysis, or quick as long as you guys want it to be quick, or we could keep going depending on your appetite for Michigan Ohio State discussion post game here at the Voice of College Football. Of course, Ohio State fans, you can gravitate to the Ohio State channel. They're probably going strong with Garrison and company, Mike as well, and then of course TJ and John on the Michigan post game right here at the Voice of College Football, probably on right now, I would assume, but you can languish here with me and we'll talk Ohio State and Michigan. And, of course, we're going to be on late tonight after the primetime games for full coverage of the college football day, rivalry weekend, rivalry Saturday. And I'll share my thoughts and feelings on this one. And, of course, maybe not so much my feelings on this one. We're going to share my thoughts more so than my feelings. But do appreciate your comments and questions. We will get to those. And also we will get to your calls. So we will take calls. Typically, I produce these videos after games go final, but just thought I would go live for this one, as we have customarily after these games for the last 3 or 4 years. In the chat, Tukey G, Jackson, we got Troy V showing up, and those guys are obviously happy. And, of course, Ohio State Buckeye fans, Michigan Wolverine fans, you can get your Voice of College Football merchandise and double up on your favorite brands, Ohio State or Michigan, at the merch store, vocfb.com. Karen, good to see you on a Saturday. And, Karen, there's something we need to teach you about Ohio State and Michigan. They always play at noon Eastern time. They don't play at night. They never played at night. They never will. Hopefully, never have. So it's always a noon Eastern time game for Ohio State and Michigan. All right. But be kind to Karen, of course. She's a Virginia Tech / Mississippi State fan who lives in Colorado. All right, Mike, not sure Ohio State could devise a game plan where Michigan could have won the game. They did it last year, but Michigan is just so soft this year. We've got James, thank you so much for the contribution. We appreciate it. Good win. Y'all came in and kicked my Wolverines' asses. Much as it sucks, it makes the rivalry even better with potential playoff elimination games like this. So thank you so much for the contribution, James, and that's very classy of you to show up as a Michigan fan. And there are a lot of different perspectives on the importance of the game to these players and coaches. Boy, you can just see it. And maybe it's just ingrained in me so much that it, regardless of what's going out on the TV screen from the stadium, it just feels like it's just amped up 1,000 times versus any other game. But that's what we have grown up to see in this rivalry. Playoff implications. On one hand, did this game tangibly mean anything to Ohio State towards winning a national championship? Really not anything, except for a first-round bye. But, man, that's such a NFL professional new age mentality that some people would argue still that this game's bigger than a national championship game. And, of course, Ohio State will have a chance to win the Big Ten championship next weekend against Indianapolis against Indiana for the first time since 2020. And of course, Michigan had won 4 straight against the Buckeyes after Ohio State had won 8 consecutive games against Michigan as this series goes back and forth. And again, James, thank you so much for the class act comment right there. Yeah, basically, just look at the rankings of the two teams. Ohio State's number 1, Michigan's number 15. And that's about the gap between the two teams. The two teams pretty much played to their B-level standard. Like, Ohio State did not play an exceptionally good game. They did, arguably, after the first quarter. Michigan did not play an exceptionally good game, nor did they, give the game away in any such way. It was Ohio State playing its normal game against Michigan's normal game, and Ohio State is just a better team. Good things most likely lie ahead for Michigan with a true freshman quarterback, all the youth that they've got all over the place. Offensive line, your best wide receiver, Andrew Marsh, who was shut out with no catches today. And so, of course, we're going to talk throughout the offseason about Michigan and Ohio State going forward, but we'll try to focus on this particular game. But Michigan fans can be hopeful for the future for sure. Bootzilla says, how did the communication go out for the second half, talking about the headset communication from the sideline to the quarterback or the defensive captain on defense that calls the plays? I don't know. It happens. Technology. It has certainly happened many other times before. And the fair thing to do is that the other team shuts down their communication as well. Yeah, good for you, James. James talked it up for 4 years, says he can take it now. And that's the classy way to do it. Main event tonight, Rammer Jammer. A little Iron Bowl perspective coming from Rammer Jammer. Of course, Alabama looking to win to go to the SEC championship game. Ohio State skill positions balled out, made it look easy. Sands legit. Receivers balled out for sure. Thank you so much, Christopher. Appreciate the comment. Love watching you and Steve each week on the 10-minute war. Bryce had happy feet and the line could not protect. He missed some, yes, open reads, which could have moved the chains and possibly scored. Yeah, so let's get to the breakdown here. Do appreciate the comments once again and the call-in lines there and is available. We're going to wrap up the entire day in college football and more on Ohio State, Michigan after the primetime games tonight. I'll simply say this. Ohio State obviously came out and Julian Sayin was off. And Ohio State looked a little tight. And for Ohio State fans, you may have been, and it's understandable, thinking, ruh-roh, look at this. This is starting to look like another one of these fights in a phone booth, street fight that we're going to lose, a la 13-10 in 2024. The first few drives for Ohio State, obviously, they threw the interception by Julian Sayin. They went 3 and out, tried to be assertive and show, hey, we're not the Ohio State game plan of 2024. We're going to play to our strengths, threw the ball downfield, and boom. Second throw goes right to, I apologize, was that Jair Hill who picked it off, I believe, against Jeremiah Smith. And then even when Ohio State had a scoring opportunity down 6-0 when they drove it down to the goal line, and C.J. Donaldson missed a touchdown by about that much. Now, I am not arguing that C.J. Donaldson scored a touchdown. I don't know that he did. He may have. A couple angles look like it possibly that the ball had touched the goal line, but I don't believe so, and had no issue whatsoever with the call by the officials to uphold the call on the field that Donaldson was short. I thought it was rather strange move to go with Julian Sayin, a light quarterback with that much distance between them and the goal line. And of course, Michigan put together a nice goal line stand after that they had put 2 field goals on the board. So right out of the gate, obviously, Jordan Marshall ran through a gaping hole on the left side of the line for 35 yards. And then Michigan hit a pass, Bryce Underwood, to one of his tight ends. I don't know if that was Zeke Marshall or Marvin Klein on the second play of the game. So right there, 35-10 for Michigan right out of the gate. Obviously, the Ohio State defense then stiffened and started to show us what they were going to show us the rest of the game, that they would at least control and eventually dominate in the second half up front and completely annihilate and shut down Michigan's ground attack. But of course, Michigan put together the 2 nice plays on the first drive, kick the field goal 3-0, get the pick, and Ohio State, you would think it would be understandable, would be a bit rattled at that point. But the defense held Michigan out of the end zone. That was obviously key. Had that thing been 14-0, then we were probably in for a Donnybrook to the very end of this thing. But Ohio State on defense kept it at 6-0, made up for the Julian Sayin pick. And then the Buckeyes got it rolling on offense. Still, Michigan held him out of the end zone, and still Julian Sayin wasn't quite sharp. He missed a throw back shoulder to Jeremiah Smith as well. But after that interception, and even again, the field goal drive wasn't a thing of beauty. Man, Julian Sayin got it going. And man, one thing that I didn't even really consider until sometime in the first quarter, because the one aspect of the Underwood to Sayin comparison that I made was, well, Bryce Underwood a couple weekends ago had to pull a game out of the fire down against Northwestern, down 22-21, had to put together a drive, made some nice throws, including an exceptional ball across his body down the left sideline to Andrew Marsh. So Bryce Underwood had experienced something and pulled something off that Julian Sayin had yet to face, because, of course, the Buckeyes are winning these games so easily, and Underwood pulls out that game at Northwestern. The thing I didn't consider until we didn't yet see the weather conditions start to take hold, but we knew that they were coming. My buddy that was watching the game with me, I was watching with some of my friends. My one buddy showed me the forecast and the snow squalls coming in, and I was like, oh boy. And then I thought, this has to be, and again, the game despite or regardless of the snowfall, the game time temperature at kickoff was, I believe, 31 degrees. So my next thought was, well, Julian Sayin has never had to lead a fourth quarter drive with the game on the line. Underwood has. Sayin also, this has to be, he's from Carlsbad, California. This has to be the coldest game he's ever played in. And I don't think it would have been an excuse. Now, football's football. You got to be able to play. And if you're a Southern California boy, you got to learn to play in the cold. It's going to happen at some point if you want to play in the NFL. So that's not an excuse, but it's just common sense that it would be an advantage to a Michigan native quarterback over a Southern California native quarterback to play in those kind of conditions. When has Julian Sayin even seen snow? I guess during his winter semesters at Ohio State, but besides that, so gets off to a slow start. And then after he threw that interception, man, guy, to keep his nerve, 2 bad drives, and he was spot on after that. He threw the bad balls that Julian Sayin threw after the first drive or two were basically like still catchable. They just weren't perfect. So he played extremely well, especially considering the conditions. The Ohio State offensive line, I did not like how it played down near the goal line on that first field goal drive, in which they had to give up the touchdown for the field goal. They didn't get enough push, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a replay of what we've seen the last 4 years, with Michigan being able to be too stout up front and stopping the Ohio State ground game. But they were getting those bursts of yardage. Bo Jackson made an exceptional run going wide and juked me out about 3 times in terms of what decision he was going to make, because he started to cut it up, then he took it wide, then he found a lane, and boom, burst to the goal line and almost scored. That set up the field goal. Aside from the offensive line not getting the job done on that first field goal series, the offensive line played great. You were not going to run the football down Michigan's throat for 350 yards. They gained almost 200 on the ground at halftime. And of course, it's a famous statistic in this series that the team that wins the rushing battle wins the game. And I thought that this might be the exception. This might be the first time in many years that a team that did not win the rushing battle still won the game, i.e. Ohio State needing to run the ball some. I figured if they run for 120, 130, Michigan runs for 200, that's fine. Ohio State throws for 350, Michigan throws for 150. There's your game. However, what it turned out to be, of course, is that Ohio State ran it reasonably well in the first half. Michigan ran it exceptionally well in the first half, was blowing Ohio State off the ball, not at a ridiculous rate, but considering how good Ohio State's front is, with first-round picks all over the place, headed by Caden McDonald right in the middle of that defense. That was an impressive ground attack by Michigan in the first half. They had 108 yards rushing at halftime, but they had -8 in the second half. Of course, Jordan Marshall had to leave the game. We've seen in recent weeks that Bryson Cusdall is a capable backup, but he is not quite Jordan Marshall. So that hurt Michigan, no doubt. I know at one point Marshall had, the 35-yard carry, 4 carries for 81 yards. We'll check the final stats right now, because that will certainly allow me to remember some points in this deal. So if we stay with the Michigan offense, there is Bryce Underwood. It was not a good day for him. 8 for 18, 63 yards, a late pick that did not matter. So Michigan obviously wanted to run the ball. And they did run in spurts in the first half and had a positive 108 yards there in the first half. So to me, they ran it at a high rate in the first half. Between Marshall and Cusdall and Bryce Underwood got loose a couple times, or once or twice maybe, and picked up some positive yardage. I had a 7-yard run. There you go. Okay. Now, once it became pretty apparent that Ohio State figured out the ground game in the third quarter, when it was either 10-9, maybe 17-9, I'm sure at that point, it looked like Michigan was going to open it up. And Bryce Underwood threw his best ball of the day to Donovan McCulley, who made an exceptional catch between 3 Buckeye defenders. And Underwood just lasered it in there. That was his one play of the day. That's the only pass that I can recall of anything of exceptional skill, showing his 5-star ability, was that one laser shot to McCulley in the third quarter when it was still a game, and they got the first down for 26 yards. And that was really it out of Bryce Underwood. And it was a combination of him just checking the ball down. Of course, the Ohio State defense and the coverage is exceptional. And he missed a few throws, no doubt. Again, the ground game, exceptional in the first half, non-existent, forget it, done in the second half. -8 in the second half. Andrew Marsh taken out of the game. Now, I don't have to tell Michigan fans that the godsend savior of the offense this season has been Andrew Marsh over the past 6 or 7 games. He's been, I saw a stat just the other day that he's been the leading receiver in yardage in the Big Ten over the past 5 or 6 games. Shutout on this day. Donovan McCulley made the one nice 26-yard catch. They had a few little dump offs that moved the chains, but that was it. 163 yards of total offense. And this is a Michigan team that's been racking up 450 every week. On the Ohio State side, again, Sayan was exceptional. After the shaky start, the entire team, shaky start. A couple of my buddies aren't necessarily that impressed with Bo Jackson. Not as much as I am. He's just a true freshman. He had a really good game. Tough yardage. He had to run it between the tackles. He bounced it outside. Sure, should he get stronger and all of that? And it's really difficult to judge speed in a game like this because it was slick out there before it even got super snowy. CJ Donaldson was tough between the tackles. And certainly when they iced the game late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, those drives, it was a lot of CJ Donaldson, who finished 14 carries for 44 yards. And those were tough yards. Those were meaningful yards in 4 5-minute drives. 4 or 5-minute drives. That's kind of the classic term, the 4-minute drive to close out the game. Ohio State had a 12-minute drive to basically ice this one because they put a field goal on the board. But more so than that, of course, they kept the Michigan offense off the field. Cornell Tate, of course, had the huge touchdown play on the play action. That was a thing of beauty, perfect pocket. Julian Sayin threw out of a perfect pocket almost the entire day. The Ohio State pass protection was exceptional. 19 of 26, and that's after getting off to a bad start. Cornell Tate, 5 for 82, and of course, the long touchdown from 50 yards. And it was noted during the broadcast that was the first Ohio State pass play or maybe offensive play of 50-plus yards against Michigan since 2019. Chris Olave. Bo Jackson factored into the pass game. He had a really nice catch on a swing pass that was a difficult catch over his head that he made. Jeremiah Smith, and of course, he hung onto the football crossing the goal line. That was a bit touch and go of determining, did he hang on to the ball, and was this going to be one of these freaky kind of new age interpretation of rules and ball possession over the goal line, feet in bounds, ball left the hand with the foot going down out of bounds once crossing the goal line? I kind of held my breath on that, but they made the right call there. Max Clare had a drop, but he went 3 for 20. And again, it was mostly Tate and Smith. Brandon Innes had the big touchdown on the slant, and that was a 4th down play, I do believe. 4th and goal, and Ohio State hits Innes with a slant. I believe that was the touchdown to make it 17-9 right before half. Sonny Styles was a monster in this game. He was exceptional. And Davison Igbinosun had a couple pass interference calls, but besides that, he was tough. And again, between McDonald, Curry up front, Tywan Malone, Kenyatta Jackson certainly put pressure on a number of times. Lorenzo Styles had a nice game. Caleb Downs had some really nice plays, a couple plays in the flat where he left his coverage guy and was able to come up and knock down a tight end or a running back in the flat, and also a couple pass breakups for Caleb Downs. And of course, the late interception from Davison Igbinosun. Anything else from you folks? Again, I have left a link there in the chat if you want to give me a call. Otherwise, we will wrap it up and we will talk Ohio State, Michigan, and the rest of the day in college football after the games tonight. We do appreciate Matthew stepping in with this one. Best O-line play in years. Dominant. Revenge. Yeah. You are not going to shove the ball down Michigan's throats and gash them for 20 and 30-yard plays. They're just too good defensively. But to move the chains in the second half with 4 and 5-yard runs over and over and over, that was highly impressive. Highly impressive by the offensive line. And again, I'm going to go back and watch this one and just see Julian Sayin standing back, patting the football with a clean pocket. The pass pro was exceptional as well. Doreen stopping by. We appreciate Doreen here. To Indy we go. The Natty next Saturday. The Natty next Saturday. To Indy we go. The Natty next Saturday. Go Bucks. That will be the Big Ten Championship, of course, next Saturday. All right, Doreen, thanks for being here, of course. Catch Doreen and Minnie Hunt. That's on Sunday nights right here at the Voice of College Football. The Ladies of College Football, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Man with Class 09, thank you for chiming in. I appreciate the contribution, sir. Michigan fan over 50 years, and I hate losing to Ohio or any other team. The fact that you are a loyal Ohio State fan and are friends with Dace makes it more palatable. Keep up your great work, Mark. I have to say, sir, you are living up to your handle name, Man with Class 09. Thank you so much for the contribution. Thanks for keeping your wits after a loss. That used to be difficult for me to do. I would certainly be respectful of everyone and anyone, but yes, We're all still hopefully alive and breathing, and everything's fine outside of football. And this is a tough one to take. If you're going to be mad about a football game, this would be the one to be mad about. So I certainly credit and acknowledge any football fan out there, but on this day, Michigan football fans who still love the maize and blue, still hate the scarlet and gray, still hate, despise, detest losing, but are able to look at it logically, sensibly, still understand it's a football game. I hate it, but it's a football game. Thank you for that. And that's the second person that's stepped up here, and I'm sure there are others in the chat. So thank you so much for that. That is nice to see. So Michigan, of course, would have had a argument for the college football playoff, a very strong one, had they been able to pull off this game against Ohio State to march their record to 10-2, as it is 9-3, 7-2 in the Big Ten, with their other loss on the road to USC. As I see it, this Michigan football team is pretty much what I expected, although I picked them to go 9-3, but make the college football playoff at the beginning of the season. Bryce Underwood did not quite statistically have the type season I expected. I expected a little bit more out of him. But, of course, losing Justice Haynes, not easy, not good. And now Jordan Marshall compromised and lost during the Ohio State game. Michigan's going to play in a decent bowl game against probably an upper echelon SEC team. And we'll go out there like they did last year and probably put up a good fight. They closed out 2024, of course, beating Alabama. But the future is more bright for Michigan football in regards to Underwood, Marsh, very young offensive line starters for the most part. Going forward, Marshall, Marsh, Underwood. Shoot, that sounds like a trifecta to me. That sounds like the triplets in Dallas. Like those three guys could do a lot of damage in the Big Ten over the next couple seasons. And David, thank you so much for being here. Mark, we looked great today. And that is a fair and concise and accurate statement. We, meaning Ohio State, looked great today. After the first drive or two, I'm trying to get my thoughts together on the drives. Was it two bad drives to start or just the one? After that, offensively, they finished the first half with 4 drives. Ohio State did. And past the interception, 2 touchdowns and a field goal. And then in the second half, it was a touchdown, a field goal, and then basically holding on to the ball forever. So these touchdown drives and scoring drives for Ohio State, despite only scoring 27 points, it was an impressive offensive display for Ohio State. They gained almost 500 yards of total offense. Let's look at the numbers once again. To the numbers, then the drive chart. And I apologize if you can't see this too well. I'll try to blow it up as large as I can while still keeping all the numbers on the screen. So Ohio State, yeah, they were just racking up first downs in the second half on those long drives, 22-9. And then this was a huge difference in the game. Obviously, it was 22-9 in first downs because Ohio State kept converting on 3rd and 4th down. 12 for 20. That's 60% converting on 3rd down. If you're converting mid 40 percentile, especially against, I will not call Michigan an elite defense. They're an extremely good defense. They're a top 15 defense in the country. I would say that 12 for 20, 60% is exceptional. 45% is really good. While Michigan went 1 for 10, 12 for 20, 1 for 10, converting 3rd and 4th downs. That converts to 419. So I apologize, not anywhere close to 500 yards of total offense. 419 to 163, though, is a beatdown, especially considering, and we'll get to the drive chart in just a second, that obviously Michigan got off to a start where they racked up like 70 yards on the first drive. And not much on the second drive because they got the field goal. But anyway, we'll go through it. So 419 to 163 after Michigan had an early lead in yardage. And who would have thought, if all you would have had to have done is give me this rushing stat right there, and knowing that there were 2 turnovers in the game, one each side, and really the Ohio State one was costly and the Michigan one was not. It was just icing on the cake at the end of the game. That Ohio State outrushed Michigan 186 to 100. And in the first half, it was 108-77 Michigan. So second half was 109 Ohio State, -8 Michigan. This was, especially with this white stuff swirling in the air, this looked like 2021, except for in reverse. Although that Michigan team, Hassan Haskins had 5 touchdown runs and they rushed for 1,000,000 yards in that game. So I'm not making a direct correlation between those two games in terms of rushing the football, because that Michigan rushing effort was from drive number 1 basically through the entire game and just pushing the Ohio State defensive line all over the field like they were on skates. Now, Ohio State's offensive line did not abuse Michigan's defensive line like Michigan's offensive line of 2021 pushed around Ohio State. Not making that correlation, but considering where this series has been running the football the last 4 years, that was exactly what Ohio State needed. I didn't even think they needed that, but they got it. 186 to 100. And again, 109 to -8 in the second half. And look at Ohio State football, 40 minutes time of possession to 20. The Ohio State football of Dwayne Haskins and Justin Fields and CJ Stroud is gone. It's a different version. It's gone in terms of play clock, yardage totals. This Ohio State offense is still explosive. It doesn't look explosive in the box score because they run the play clock so much. Did you guys check the Fox stats during the Rutgers game last week? Ohio State snaps the ball less than any team in the country, combining the offense and the defense. Well, one of that is that the defense gets off the field constantly, but the offense runs the play clock to the point that they are trying to conserve their defense. That's one of the reasons they're the best in the nation. They are the best defense, most likely in the nation. I'm not saying that as a fact, a statement of fact. I think Oklahoma's there. Who else has a great defense? I don't think Iowa's is in Ohio State's league, but it's really, really, really good. Your defenses would be, I guess, Georgia, Oklahoma, maybe Texas Tech, Indiana, Ohio State. So I think the Buckeyes do have the best defense, but it's an argument for sure. But one of the reasons they have the best defense, in addition to the talent and the scheme and Matt Patricia doing an exceptional job, better job than most of us gave him credit for coming into the season, is that they stay rested. So it's a full big picture approach to keeping this team ready and fresh and healthy to play 16 football games. And obviously they want to win this Big Ten championship because they want to be the Big Ten champions, but they also want to do it so they can as well not have to play the first round game and get the bye and only play 16 games. All right. We'll be live after the primetime games, and we will take our buddy, Dr. Buckeye, who's got to be a happy doctor on this fine afternoon.
Order has been restored. Order has been restored. Okay? To the universe, Mark. Order has been restored. By the way, I saw you stop by the mental institution this past week and speak with your buddy, Mr. Dace. By the way, you didn't have the Schleicher jersey on, Mark. Well, that was a number 7. Was that a Joe Germain jersey or a Ted Ginn jersey? Which
Ted
one was that,
Ginn.
by the way?
That was a Ted
Ted
Ginn
Ginn.
jersey.
I like it.
I
Okay.
have my choice of Orlando Pace, Ted Ginn, James Laurinaitis, and Art Schleicher.
Yes.
And Troy Smith. I've got a Troy Smith jersey as well.
Well, yeah. Well, that could go as Troy Smith, Rex Kern, or Art Schleicher.
Well, I have Art Schleicher with his autograph, but I have another number 10 in white that was purchased during the Troy Smith era.
Okay.
But I, like you, David, at the end of the game, I was sitting there watching the game with 3 or 4 friends. I stated, everything once again is right with the world. Yes.
Order has been restored, Mark. I think you could proudly. By the way, I thought you had a bit of a jinx since you joined the Dace program as far as a little bit of a losing streak. I think there was a little bit of a curse there, Mark, you had going on there. We had to get everything right. Like I said, you're going to enjoy your trip there this week, I'm sure, very much, my friend.
Oh, that'll be a fun one to follow up on. Yes. This was an exceptional performance. Once they got things settled, they settled into the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree with you. I do have to say this, Mark. Is this as good an Ohio State defense as you've ever seen? I mean, to me, I know people will, you can talk about competition, whatever, but I don't know. They're just so disciplined. They're gap sound. They tackle well. They don't miss a lot of tackles. They never seem to get caught out of position. I mean, and they got what, like 4 or 5, maybe as Klatt says, first round draft picks on this defense. It's ridiculously good.
Yeah, and if they would have put this defensive effort together against last year's Michigan team or the Michigan offense that we saw early this season, I would have thought, okay, they're doing their jobs. But Michigan has actually been fairly explosive over the last half of this season.
Yeah.
Regularly putting up about 450 yards of offense. They found a passing game. They found a receiver who, Andrew Marsh catching 0, getting completely shut out of this game was a huge victory for this team.
That was big. I give it to Jordan Marshall for trying to go on that bad shoulder, but you know what I mean? You know, that was going to be a tough effort against our defense. And, I tell you what, this defensive line too impressed me because that was going to be the whole key, is replacing that entire defensive line. Caden McDonald, by the way, is a guy to watch for on that defensive line. I know you liked Tyleek Williams last year, but he is a dude at defensive tackle. I always have to say he's impressive. But I was happy with the offensive game plan compared to what we saw a year ago. I think they were far more aggressive in letting Sane throw the ball down the field. But you know what you have to say today, Mark? The offensive line was great. It was great.
Yeah, so they started out the game not running at will by any stretch. And what was it? The first field goal drive, they got down near the goal line and weren't able to push it in. But other than that, those are the only things that I could say that it took the entire team a couple series to get rolling. Offense and defense, pretty much every category: rush offense, rush defense, pass defense. A little less on the pass defense side because they really didn't give up anything the whole day. Took the entire team a little bit to get rolling. So besides the effort at the goal line on the first field goal drive when they couldn't stick in the football from inside the 5 in 6 plays, other than that, they were, to run the football that consistently under those conditions in the second half, especially that 12-minute drive, they were just chewing up 4, 5, 6 every play.
Yeah.
And then the pass protection was saying he stood in a clean pocket almost every time he dropped back.
Well, yeah, see, that was my one concern is, would be pass pro. Although I would say the pass pro has been pretty good, the entire year. It's been the run blocking that hasn't been this good the entire season. And, I got to say this, Mark, Bo Jackson has improved as a running back as the season's moved along. He's become a very solid running back. And this team, a lot of people were talking about the running game lacking earlier in the year. This team now has legitimate balance going forward. It makes them that much more dangerous going into the championship game and the playoff, by the way.
My buddies watching the game with me, they're a little hard on Bo Jackson. They're not big fans of Bo Jackson yet after watching Judkins and Henderson. They point out where he should have broken this tackle and broken that tackle, and he doesn't look that fast. And I had to stick up for him the whole game.
I mean, okay, if you don't want to say he's on Judkins or Henderson's level, I mean, I get it. But, yeah, I mean, those are starting running backs in the NFL right now. And, to be fair, he's a freshman too.
Yes.
But the guy's had a really solid year. A really solid year. And then he can catch the ball out of the backfield too. I like him as a receiver catching the ball too on those swing passes.
He had 4 catches today, and one of them was a pretty difficult catch. You could see it where he was the guy to go to instantly, that he swung out of the backfield and nobody picked him up. And saying threw a good ball. It wasn't a horrible pass. It was just kind of a difficult angle. And considering, with the weather conditions, it was a really nice catch out of the backfield. So yes, to be just a freshman and be that accomplished coming out of the backfield to catch passes as well is pretty impressive.
Yeah, Sain's accuracy. I mean, I was a little shaky. That interception, I don't know what he was looking at on that first interception early in the game, Mark. But great job of steadying himself. Again, just goes through his progressions, very calm in the pocket, and his accuracy is just, his ball placement is just incredible. I mean, would you put it close to a CJ Stroud kind of level as far as ball placement and accuracy, Mark?
I would. It's really, really good. It's again, he is not getting harassed.
True.
Like the quarterbacks that I see in every other college football game that I watch.
Yeah.
Their pass protection is better than any team I see play football.
Wow.
I don't see anybody protecting the quarterback like Ohio State from week to week.
Yeah, well, that's the one thing I've been happy with the entire year. Yeah, and it says a lot that he's got that much time to go through his progressions too. That really is on the offensive line as well. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, he just does high level stuff. You don't see freshman quarterbacks, Mark, going through their progressions. By the way, you see a lot of one read and run, or you know what I mean. That then he'll take the check down throws when he has to. That's kind of higher level stuff, I would say too, Mark. So I'm ecstatic. I'm really happy for Ryan Day. This was tough on me a year ago, Mark. We talked the next day, and it was very, very difficult. By the way, I'm talking to a man that, by the way, what was your score? You did pick us to win on the day's program 2017, but you had us losing this game at the start of the season, to be fair.
Yeah, but at the beginning of the season, I don't know who's playing. Like,
okay.
I am not a score predictor at the beginning of the season. I think that's idiotic to do. Okay. I don't do that. I just pick records of teams. And so you can do the math and do the deductions if you want to. So yeah, when push comes to shove, but no, I'm not picking the score of games. Now, I've done that in the past when people just asked for it, pick the Miami schedule and go through all the games. Sure, I'll play along with that, but I just think that's a stupid thing to do. A stupid exercise to do in July of picking games in November.
Well, I'm glad to see that on the day show you came to your senses this week, Mark.
Well, yeah, I know I've watched teams play 11 games. I didn't get that advantage in August.
That's true. You had a little too close. By the way, I almost called it. I had it 27-13. I know you had it 20-17, I believe was your final, right?
Yes.
So, yeah,
Let me ask you this, David.
Yes.
How was the blood pressure after Michigan rips off a 35-yard run, kicks the field goal, gets the pick, kicks the field goal?
It was high. I was really happy that the defense held to the 3 after the interception. I thought that was big. I thought
Sure.
that was big. And then the drive after that was, I knew we had to get something. I knew we had to at least get points. Now, we should have put it in on the goal line. By the way, did it seem, and I got to say, I got a bone to pick here a little bit. Did it seem like their players were trying to draw Ohio State players into fights? They were doing some Bush League stuff out there, Mark. I was kind of noticing that. I don't know if you noticed that as well with your friends watching a game, but it missed me on that.
Yes, they were. Or somebody was. I'm not going to blame it on Michigan players. I'm just saying that there were scuffles around the field. I know that Jayshon Barham, if the officials are sticking to
Yeah.
the rule book, would have kicked him out of the game.
Yeah, how does he not get chucked for that, for hitting the official?
Headbutt. Like, we've seen players bump into officials in the chest and get thrown out of the games. He took his helmet and headbutted the official.
Yeah. How's he not gone? I mean, I don't see
I don't know. I don't know. And I don't like to see games altered by such things that have nothing to do with the field, but there is decorum to the game. And that's just not even decorum. That's just acting civilly. And, maybe he thought he was held, or I don't know what his gripe was. That would be the only thing that could come to mind. But for him to headbutt an official and not get thrown out of the game was ridiculous.
Yeah, I was a joke. I was reacting. It's tough though, Mark. They gave us the extra downs and we couldn't put it into the end zone. Yeah. I was I thought we had a good play design on that 4th down before the false start by the tight end there, though. You know what I mean? I think that could have worked.
Oh yeah. And then I do believe that they got it right, but I was holding my breath on the Jeremiah Smith touchdown.
It was close.
It's some kind of crazy ball control, because my determination on that, and of course we're watching the replays and going back and forth in the room about what it should be, and of course we're leaning heavy Ohio State, so right. I'm trying to be objective, but my thought was there was this argument about, control of the ball crossing the goal line.
Yeah.
Well, the ball was already caught. It wasn't like he was in the process of catching the football and then stepped out of bounds while in the process of catching the football. He had already caught the football. He was running into the end zone. And once that ball crosses the goal line, it's a touchdown.
Yeah, that's what I said. Even if it's kind of becoming in his hands, if that ball crosses the goal line, exactly. Shouldn't it still be 6?
Yeah.
And then,
by the way, they came to that determination. Yes.
And also bad explanation, I think, by Klatt. One of them saying that would have been a touchback. Wouldn't it have just been an incomplete pass if they overturned that?
Not if they would have called it a catch and a fumble.
Well, he didn't technically fumble the ball. The ball never came out of his hands and landed on the ground and went, out the end zone.
Good point.
So, yeah, I thought they were saying that during the game. And
I thought he got interfered with anyway.
Oh yeah, like when on that double move there where he kind of shook that defender.
Yeah, the defender had both hands grabbing both shoulder pads on his turn.
When did you think it was over, Mark? After the Tate touchdown, when made it 24-9?
Yeah. Yep. That was the one that I felt comfortable about. Yes.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I knew they were going to try and take a shot there, especially with the weather. They still had the weather in the spot when they needed it, and I wasn't good until they kicked the field goal and made it 27-9. I needed to get it at least the 3 score, I guess, differential.
I'm being very nitpicky here, but I did think it was a bit odd. One of the drives in the second half, when they ran it 6 straight times to start the drive.
Yes.
Which was impressive for them to run the football down their throats and get that drive started with 6 consecutive runs. I was expecting they're running 6 consecutive times, and they're actually taking those snaps, most of them under center, if not all of them.
Yeah.
I thought they're going to go play action. But when they finally threw the ball, they dropped back in the spread, didn't even fake a handoff, and just They didn't
Yeah.
complete the pass. I just thought that was a bit odd, that seemed like the perfect setup for a deep shot off a play action.
Right. I really wonder if they were, with that footing, if they were, after they hit that last deep shot, because I think that if they were going to throw the ball, it was going to be more of controlled passing game, maybe shorter passes with maybe with the weather being like it
Well,
was.
when
I
I
don't
say a
know.
deep shot, I shouldn't have stated it that way. I'm just talking about the actual play action portion of it itself. It seemed
Okay.
like that fell right into their laps in terms of what they were setting up, and then they didn't do it. And anyway, it's not a big
But
deal.
you make a good point though, Mark. They did a lot more under center than I thought they would in this game. Maybe a
Yeah.
little bit more than I've seen them do this season. But yeah, I'm ecstatic, Mark. I feel like a weight's been lifted for Ryan Day. I'm so happy for him and the players and this coaching staff. I think he's finally situated his coaching staff to a great spot. Where I think each of his position coaches are really solid. He's got the right defensive coordinator. I think Brian Hartline. I had a little bit of critique with him early. I have to say this was pretty much his game plan today, wouldn't you say, Mark?
Oh yeah,
So he
for
deserves a
sure.
lot of
And I got
credit.
to think that should be of great satisfaction to Ryan Day and Brian Hartline in particular, but also to Buckeye fans, that we got to see both Ohio State offenses. We got to see the one
Yep.
that shows off, the shiny toys, the
Hmm.
elite speed, the elite athleticism. Jeremiah Smith scored, Brandon Innes scored, Carnell Tate 50-yarder for the first time against Michigan since 2019. So all that added to what was at its core bullying Michigan and not
Yeah.
having them bully Ohio State.
So
So getting that balance and being successful, both throwing and running, has to be of great satisfaction.
so best defense in America, balanced offense, Mark. Sounds like the best team in America to me.
Is it not the best offense in America?
I especially now that they have balance, I don't have much doubt about that. I think. What do you think? Do you think Indiana? What do you think of that game next week? You have any early thoughts on that Big Ten title game?
I think that Indiana's a really good team. I think that it's going to be a great challenge, but Ohio State's a better team. So if both teams play an A game or a B game, or they bring the same level of intensity and execution, then Ohio State's going to win the game by 10 points. But
Yeah.
they may not. Indiana is certainly capable of winning the game, but they're not as good as Ohio State.
Yeah, I have to say, I think this will be the best offense easily Ohio State's faced the entire year with Mendoza in the way they can throw the ball around.
Yes.
So, no doubt about it. Hey, last thing before I let you go, I'm going to continue to bask away here today. But any thoughts about Texas getting that win last night and what that does for the playoff committee, by the way, going forward, Mark?
Yes, I got to say, I enjoyed that. Not that I was rooting for Texas, but it just provides another level of possible chaos to all of this. So, yeah, I was trying to. I posted a video about Texas's case in all of this, uh, and they do provide very interesting comparisons against. Well, Miami obviously started the weekend 4 spots ahead of them. I think 12 versus 16.
Mm-hmm.
Miami, even though Texas beat a much better team and did it fairly impressively, Miami, of course, you're not going to penalize them for beating a Pitt team by 31 points. So I don't know where Texas is going to go. I wrote down a list of games that they would like to have in their favor here, and that includes Washington beating Oregon, LSU
Right.
beating Oklahoma, Pitt beating Miami.
Yep.
Actually, the Ohio State Michigan game helps them, and then one way or the other, I guess they want Tennessee because they're behind them in the standings. They're not going to catch them, obviously. Tennessee to beat Vanderbilt as well.
Well, I was going to say this though, Mark. I mean, the numbers I think still kind of align though, don't they? If we go 5 SEC, 3 Big Ten teams, one ACC, one Big 12. That gets us to 10. And then you go the non-Power 5 and Notre Dame gets us to 12 teams total, right?
Yeah, unless the committee's going to look at Miami beating Pitt by 31 points after Notre Dame just played them a couple weeks ago. They were pretty similar games.
Yeah, I mean, so you would, but okay. So what team in the ACC do you think the ACC could get two teams?
Well, Miami's the obvious choice.
Right, right. So after Miami, I mean, that's just gives you one ACC team.
Well, no, the ACC champion's going to be in the game.
Oh, that's right. Okay, my bad. That's right. Yeah, because okay, so it would be the winner of oh my bad. Is it Louisville that's in the title game?
So it's probably going to be. It still is yet to be decided. Depends on what
Yeah.
Virginia and SMU do today, but it probably is going to be those two.
Oh, okay. Okay. Wow. Right. Okay. So we're back to the debate. Yeah, the Miami Notre Dame debate.
Yeah, and I understand that.
Okay. My bad.
Notre Dame's been placed in a position where they're not counting that game, but it seems as though every week they're inching Miami up there. And if they just beat Pitt by 31 points, and if Notre Dame struggles in this next game, I don't know.
So, okay, couple things. So, would you be more comfortable with both putting in Miami or Notre Dame, or getting in Texas as maybe a fifth team to replace one of those two?
Well, it's a great question because I do think that Texas has a better resume than either one of them do. They beat Texas A&M, they beat Oklahoma, they beat Vanderbilt. They have wins against 3 of the top 14 teams in the country, and I think Vandy going into this weekend is actually deserving of a better ranking than that. But
Plus,
they do have a horrible loss. But
yeah, that's true.
Is Texas loss on the road at Florida? I know Florida's 3-8. But the quality of the team really that much different than Miami losing at home to Louisville?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, well, could we say that was maybe a different Florida team, maybe at that, but although it was still not a very good Florida team, I think at the time. Yeah,
no,
that's true.
That's probably going to kill Texas, and it probably should.
Yeah. But yeah, you're going to say that. Look, I mean, Sark's case about look at the schedule that we played. Nobody's going to say that Sark dogged anybody this year because they played a brutal schedule.
And that's the unfortunate part about how this is all evaluated and comes together is that Texas, had they played whoever in the non-conference, fill in the blank, line them up against, Rutgers. They're 10-2 right now.
Sure.
And they're in the playoff. They went to Columbus, lost to the number 1 team in the country by a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that is actually, in my book, a better performance than 95% of the wins in college football.
So we're back to good losses. Is what we're saying here, Mark.
Well, they're performances.
That's true. That's true. No,
if we're not going to evaluate the performance, then they should play the worst teams that they can possibly find. They should play Indiana's non-conference schedule.
Yeah, get some weak Power 5 team in there or non-Power 5 that some schools schedule, and pad that and just fall back on the fact. Well, hey, we play an SEC schedule, so we don't have to go out of conference and play a big name brand. So I know I give Texas credit, but you're right. I think the Florida loss is going to hurt them. Yeah. I think I do. I think we avoid maybe the Miami and Notre Dame controversy so that would be 4 SEC teams, 3 Big 10, 2 ACC, 1 Big 12, 1 non-Power 5, and then Notre Dame get you to 12.
I'm almost certain after the Notre Dame win, Miami defeated. Well, this would be their best win. They beat a 8-4 Pitt team. That's their best win. 8-4 Pitt.
Yeah.
All of their other wins are against losing teams.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's Yeah, and I mean, you're going to say, well, there are two losses, are Louisville at home, and then at SMU. But that SMU loss was really bad. It was almost as bad as the Louisville loss. I don't know what was worse. Yeah, well, both were
The
pretty.
Louisville loss, SMU beat Louisville by 32 points.
Yeah, I mean, and Louisville, and you're playing Louisville at home too.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I am going to celebrate my friend OH. I know you don't buy into that, Mark, but congratulations to the Buckeyes and ending this long drought and losing streak, and back to Indianapolis for the first time in 5 years. I can't believe it.
There it is. All right, David. Thanks for calling, man.
All right, my friend. Take care. Yep.
Buckeyes win 27-9 and finish the regular season 12-0. Michigan at 9-3, and they will be off to find out their bowl placement next Sunday on Selection Sunday. Appreciate y'all being here, the Voice of College Football. Keep in mind that we go live with all of you late night tonight after the primetime game. So about 11 p.m. Eastern time, we'll see you right here to take your calls to wrap up Week 14